Hello, and we are live. Welcome to today's live. So, today we're talking about how my 50-pound wake up call has to do with your self image. Like, what does that have to do? Like, how are they both interrelated? Today, I hope you guys had a wonderful day. Today was a long day for me. I woke up, went to the gym, went to work. I was supposed to be gone from work about 2.5 hours ago, but unfortunately, there was some issue. I work in sciences and there's an issue with one of our machines. So I'm hoping to get some word back from somebody that can perhaps help me. But if not, I'm going to go home because I've been here for a while. Either way, let's get started with our live. So we're talking today about how my 50-pound wake up call has to do with your self image and you elevating your self image. So, little backtrack if you, not backtrack, backstory if you haven't been reading my post yet. One of my most recent posts from yesterday, I was telling you guys about starting a fitness journey in June when I realized that after stepping on the scale, I was over 180 pounds and I have a 5'2 3/4" frame, 5'3" on a good day. And when I stepped on the scale and I saw that number, I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that I had let myself get to that point, especially being a track and field runner in the past, especially being a basketball player in the past, a soccer player in the past. I did drill team. It was a huge blow. Like, what did I do? So I didn't do enough, but I also wasn't being enough. And I'm going to explain more to you about that as we go into this live. So, yes, it was a horrifying experience seeing that I was 50 pounds past my ideal weight. My ego was shot point blank, and I knew that the reflection of myself in the mirror absolutely was changing, but I just didn't know it was that bad. So now, because I, obviously know that the numbers aren't lying, I started to say, okay, well, I need to start going to the gym, right? I started to go to the gym. Sometimes I'd work out twice a day. I would do sometimes like walking for 45 minutes in addition to going to the gym 2 times a day. And, I thought I was doing the work, right? I was showing up and doing the work. And while I did get some results, I did lose some weight doing that. And it's also one of the things about losing weight when you're really just looking at all of the biometrics, making sure that you're eating the right types of foods. That way you maintain how much muscle you're gaining while losing fat. It's a whole science. But it all comes back to what you're putting into your body, what your internal reality is looking like, and how that's a reflection of what's happening in your physical reality. So I was doing the work, and I didn't see the scale make that hard left turn that I was talking to you guys about in the post. Like, I didn't see that, like, holy smokes, I lost a lot of weight because I was doing all this work, like, pat on the back, good for me. And now, I have been more consistent. I'm not at the level of consistency that I like yet. However, I've lost 12 pounds. In the post that I wrote, I lost 6 pounds because that was just the amount that I had checked at the time. But now I'm at 12 pounds. I've lost 12 pounds. So I'm super excited about that. But I noticed the scale moves more when I actually focus more on what I am putting in my body versus what I am just doing. I don't even have to exercise as much when I focus on what I'm putting in my body. And it's a great testament and example about what it looks like to focus on your inner reality and how that is, again, reflected in your external, in your physical reality. So, now I am definitely being more selective with what I eat. I am definitely not perfect. I haven't gotten to the point again where I am completely saying no to cheating, but I am way more attentive and selective with the foods that I eat. And eventually I know I'll be committed to about 80, 85% of like eating really healthy food and maybe 15% of not eating the best food, but just having that fun cheat meal every once in a while. So, again, what does this have to do with your self image and how you become the person that's capable of achieving your desires? So, whether this be in your business, in your relationships, building deeper connections with your spouse or with your partner or with your family member, or achieving your body goals. Yours could be weight gain, mine is definitely weight loss. However, it may be like I want some gains, right? So if it's that for you, you have to focus more on the being and less on the doing. But we are trained more in, especially Western society, to focus on the doing. We live in a hustle culture where, and I'm not here to knock anyone's hustle. However, there has to be a flow in the doing and the being, or it will lead to self sabotage. And one of the reasons why we're so focused in the Western world on the doing, if you really think about it, is because we're on the left side of the world. And one of the things that Nero's knowledge pointed out so poignantly, and I was like, oh my gosh, of course this makes sense, is because when you're on the left side of the world, we on our left hemisphere of our brain is concerned with what? It's concerned with logical thinking. It's concerned with reasoning. It's concerned with analyzing things. It's concerned with planning, organizing, strategic part of our brain that causes us to act in that way, right? And in doing that, it is more masculine. It is more, I'm going to do before I be type of energy. And if you notice the eastern side of the world, you're thinking like, ancient China, we're talking about India, we're talking about Africa as well. Extremely spiritual people, right? Like beyond like even our imagination sometimes, the amount of spirituality that they've been able to cultivate the couple of thousand years that we're now becoming more attuned to in the Western world. However, they laid the groundwork 100% on spirituality, energy practices, holistic practices, right? They're on the right hemisphere of the world, and your right hemisphere of your brain is concerned with what? With imagination, with intuition, with receiving, right? With being able to trust in our inner being is a lot with what femininity is, and that feminine energy, trusting your knowing before you start the doing, emotional side of your body, right? So all this to say, we've been indoctrinated to think that doing creates the results that we want to achieve faster. And because of that, we will do more in our business, making more content, more offers, thinking that the doing, without it aligned to the energy of being, will attract more clients. Now, this isn't to say that doing more won't cause you to achieve more. However, if the doing isn't in alignment with the being, then no amount of doing will maintain the results that you cultivate in the doing. So, for example, I give an example of this later in the life, but I'm just going to skip around. When you are given a blessing too soon because you've been doing, you're showing up. However, you haven't cultivated the inner reality, the inner tools, the characteristics. You haven't embodied the type of person that's capable of maintaining what you've achieved in your external reality. Then of course it's unfortunately going to fail. Like, how many times have you been given perhaps that relationship too soon before you were ready, and you're like, wow, I fumbled the bag with that person because I didn't realize who they were, because I didn't have the tools. It's the same concept with business or with relationships or any goal that you're wanting to achieve with your body. If you don't have the tools in your inner reality, if you haven't embodied those characteristics, if you haven't become the person capable of achieving the results, even if you achieve them, you'll lose it and have to start again. You'll be knocked back a few steps and saying, okay, I have to start again, because you haven't learned the lessons, you haven't gained the experience, you don't have the inner reality that's capable of maintaining your outer reality, right? So one of the things that Nero's knowledge says is that energy is the cause, and that the energy is the cause that will precede the effect that happens in your physical reality. And I say that your involution precedes your evolution. And Eckhart Tolle says that joy doesn't come from doing. The joy flows through you first, then is felt in the doing. So, and one of the things that Deepak Chopra says is something to the effect that if you want to have love, you have to be love. So everyone, including myself, is saying in so many words the same thing. Anything that you want to accomplish in your external reality has to first be accomplished in your internal reality in your being and who you are and how you embody the version of yourself that's capable of achieving these results and maintaining the results, right? And continuing to climb from there and continuing to move the goalpost and change your goals and not be complacent, of course. So your internal reality is based off of how you think about yourself, how your thoughts and your emotions affect your physical body, and how your physical body then acts in accordance to those thoughts and behaviors, and excuse me, in accordance to those thoughts and emotions, and how, if you are, attached to the outcome. So, without these things being in alignment, without your thoughts, without your emotions, without your body and behaviors, and without your level of attachment being in alignment, you will definitely self sabotage and you'll be in the frequency of self sabotage until they are in alignment. So, all of this to say, you have to use my heal method. And I'm going to tell you more about that as we continue on in this live. So, in addition, you also have to make sure that you are not emotionally dependent on your desired outcome. This is what Nero's knowledge says. And it's in alignment with what many spiritualists say along the lines of not being attached to your outcome, not needing it to happen. Anything that you need, anything that you squeeze and like, oh my gosh, I have to hold on to this and make sure that it happens. What happens? It usually squeezes right through your hands, right? So how can you make sure that you're not getting caught up in the hustle and not getting caught up in the doing to compensate for the being? What you have to do is, let me move forward here, harmonize your thoughts, elevate your emotions, align your body, and let go of attachment. This is my signature heal method that I use for myself and my clients when it comes to any goal that we're working on achieving. So, when it comes to your thoughts, how do you think about yourself? Are you basing your future reality on your current or past circumstances? Perhaps because you failed once or many times, you think you're going to fail again. Perhaps you have succeeded, but the outcome didn't look the way you thought it would. Are you taking inventory of your thoughts? Are you, as Michael Singer says in Untethered Soul, being completely objective with your thoughts? What thoughts no longer serve your desired reality? What thoughts no longer need to be in your brain percolating all day, where they're feeding your not desired reality while you're trying to manifest, while you're trying to self actualize your desired reality? Know that any negative thought that you have about yourself, there's also a polarity of that thought that exists. So if you have, for example, me, I'm a single parent and I have to consistently tell myself that just because you're a single parent doesn't mean that you cannot do XYZ. So what I will do is I'll say, okay, because I'm a single parent, because I've achieved all of these things while being a single parent means that I'm capable of achieving even more because I'm a single parent. You have to switch the way that you're thinking and talking to yourself. You have to make sure that your inner critic isn't beating you down and causing thoughts to percolate in your brain that eventually lead to emotions, lead to behaviors that keep you where you are in your undesired reality, or self sabotaging your current desired reality that you've manifested and knocking you back a few steps. You don't want that to happen. So remember, changing your thoughts and changing how you think about yourself when you will ultimately change the world that you're living in. Now, elevating your emotions. Perhaps your past failures make you feel shame. Perhaps you feel guilty. Perhaps you feel a level of selfishness for going after your goals. I know that there's a lot of moms like myself that feel a level of guilt for not always being 100% with their kids because they're working or because they have to take care of themselves or because they have to, um, they do have goals. Like, it's okay to have goals. Like, you can literally, I feel like I've gotten to the point where I know that I can have it all, and that if you're someone that is a parent, a mom, you can have it all as well. So one of the things that Marianne Williamson says is that if you are feeling like there's a level of selfishness that you're experiencing, that the polarity of that is selflessness. And you need both to be whole. And that goes for any of these negative emotions that you feel: shame, guilt, um, frustration, right? If you Instead, say, okay, what's the opposite of shame and guilt? Pride, honor, respect, virtue. When have you been virtuous in your life? Look for examples of when that has happened for you, or when you have acted in a way of virtue or of honor, or something that makes you feel honorable and pride of who you are. I'm sure you could find an example of in your past, that says that, hey, I have been this person before. And then use that to feel the emotions now, instead of thinking in the way of shame and guilt like you were before. Okay. And also, this isn't to say that you should spiritually bypass or be positive avoidant, where you're like, oh, I'm only going to think or feel positive emotions and positive thoughts. It's like, no, you still need to give your emotions a place to exist. That's what Deepak Chopra says in his book, in his part of the book, Shadow Effect. He says, your emotions are entities that deserve a place to exist. So give them that platform to exist, to allow themselves to be expressed, and then don't stay there. Because in order for you to elevate your life and elevate your self image, you have to elevate your thoughts and emotions more consistently than you are in the state of negativity. That's just a fact. So give them a place to exist. However, do not stay there. I have thrown myself a few pity parties, and then I no longer send out invitations for everybody to join me, right? So make sure you give yourself a time and place to exist in whatever negative emotions that you feel, but do not stay there. And try not to invite too many people to that pity party, because it usually just makes things worse, right? So here we go. Also, align the body. So getting your nervous system on board will be a huge part of this. And what do I mean by that? Well, your nervous system is your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system. So what I mean by that is making sure that your fight, flight, freeze is in a line, is in check. So if you know you're going to do something that you've never done before, and you know that sometimes you get in a state of feeling frantic, or you get into the state of feeling not ease, I was going to say dis-ease, but I didn't want you to think I was saying disease, but not in an easeful manner, right? We're like, okay, I have to do all of these things now. You're looking at a big pile of work that you've never had to do before, and you're wondering if you're capable of doing it. If you try to do too much, what usually happens? You try to do too much too soon, and then you end up burning out. That's your nervous system telling you it's overwhelmed and you're doing too much. And it doesn't feel safe doing that much because it's never had to do that much. So one of the things that Heidi Priebe says, and she's another YouTuber I follow, is that you have to reconcile with the parts of you that are saying, hey, you have to sacrifice now. These are things that you're no longer in alignment with, but things are new things that you are attempting to be in alignment with. You're still used to the old way of doing things, so incorporate it little by little. You have to give your nervous system a micro changes. Feel safe in the micro changes instead of trying to do so much all at once, and wondering why you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Analyze the trade-offs of what you now have to do, and reconcile with the parts of you that may not want to do it. Say, okay, well, what's the sacrifice? And what do I have to do in order for XYZ to happen? And get my nervous system on board to doing little things here and there. I guarantee if you do a little bit, it will add up to more over time. But if you try to do too much too soon, you're going to overwhelm your nervous system and you're going to end up stopping, unfortunately, or you will burn out. Either way, both scenarios aren't the best, and that's not what you want for yourself. So find higher levels of safety in doing small tasks, micro steps, until your macro vision comes in order and until it manifests. How I'm doing this. I told you guys in my last post, I've been taking my meal replacement shakes because sometimes I haven't gotten to that rhythm yet where I'm always meal prepping. And I just haven't yet, not yet. So I will take my meal replacement shake with me. And when I know I need to eat and I haven't had that meal prepped yet, I can at least grab my shake. it's at least training myself to eat a couple of hours every day, every 2 to 3 hours, or if I'm at work, it's probably like every 2 to 4 hours. I do my best, but I'm also in lab, right? It's training my nervous system to get into the act of doing the thing, and I'm not overwhelmed by having to meal prep, weeks and weeks of food when I haven't even done that yet. So give yourself time. Analyze the trade-offs of doing this new level of activity. Okay. And then, of course, letting go of attachment. So you've heard this before. However, one of the things that Nero's knowledge says that I think he really explained it really well is that it's not only just being attached to the thing, but it's not being emotionally dependent on the thing happening. So when you're perhaps in a new relationship and you're like calling all the time and you're like, oh my gosh, they're not answering, they're not responding, they're not texting me back. And you start to percolate in your brain all the things that could be happening, right? And then you start to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose them. And then what happens? You end up losing them, or it ends up causing the relationship to be sour. It's because you're emotionally dependent on the person. You need them to love you, and it pushes them away. I know I've been there. So instead of being emotionally dependent on needing that thing, needing that love, needing that new business to take off, or your current business to take off, or to break through a revenue ceiling, instead of needing it to happen, you have to be okay with it or without it. And when I heard Nero's knowledge say that, it just put off so many bells in my head, because how many times when you have finally said, okay, I forget it. I'm not going to, oh, goodness, my job. I'm not going to even worry about this business. I'm not going to even worry about this relationship. I'm not going to even worry about whatever when it comes to the goal that you're trying to achieve. And then you achieve it because you're not worrying about it. You're not emotionally dependent on it happening anymore. You're not tripping off it, right? So stop tripping. Stop checking your phone incessantly. Stop constantly stop nagging in that relationship. Stop poking the bear, even when it comes to your own self. And I guarantee you, it'll most likely happen because you're not trying to make it happen. Okay. So not as long, well, kind of a long live, about 22 minutes. There will be the word that I'm looking for, the freebie. So the freebie will be in the comments, from self sabotage to self mastery. Go ahead and click on that so you can download your free gift, self sabotage to self mastery, and you'll see my signature heal method in there. So H, harmonize your thoughts, elevate your emotions for E, align your body, and let go of attachment for L. You'll see uh, the um, the methodology in the gift, and you'll also see a 7-step PDF of what to do when you are feeling like you're in that self-sabotaging frequency and how to get out of it. Okay. If you have any questions about anything that I've gone on in the live, go ahead and put them in the comments and send me a DM if you'd like more information about how to work with me, how I can help you elevate your emotions so that way you can start manifesting your desires without self-sabotage and without self-sacrifice. Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and I send you so much love.